I was starting to have more unfinished projects than workbench space, so I decided today would be a good day to throw a few coats of oil on and free up some room. The question for today is going to be, how much oil do I put on an end grain cutting board? How much is enough? And just for those who don't know, the difference between an end grain cutting board and an edge grain cutting board is that an edge grain cutting board, the wood runs in the direction it would grow with the tree, kind of like this, the way you would normally expect to see a cutting board put together. An end grain cutting board is the opposite. The grain of the wood runs this way, lengthwise. So this would be as if you were to cut a tree into a log and this were the cross section here. The advantage to doing that is that the end grain is much harder, and it gives you some different options for how to glue things together that you would be a little more complicated if you're going with the end grain approach, or the edge grain approach rather. The downside to doing an end grain cutting board is that wood is very porous on the end. So you can see all these spots where the oil is just soaking right into the wood. As soon as I wipe it on there, it just starts to soak up again. And I've already been putting quite a bit of oil on this. So again, the question is, how much oil is enough? Seems like you could just keep putting it on here forever, and it's not like a normal project where you just want to seal it and then you're good. Problem is, you're going to be putting all kinds of things on here. It's going to be vegetables, meat, maybe chicken. And what you don't want in this porous surface structure here is for chicken juice or meat juice, blood, whatever, to soak down inside the center of this board and stay there and just get absorbed into the wood. My preference would be to seal it all the way through, so that way if anything does soak in, it would be a little bit easier to wash out without doing any damage or permanently fusing itself to the wood. So how do you know how much is enough? I've put enough on this side that, let me get rid of this rag. When I flip the board over, I could see this from looking under the bottom, but it didn't show up well on the camera. That's what the bottom of the board looks like now. You can see where I put in so much oil that it's actually starting to soak out of the bottom. So I know that this thing is pretty well sealed all the way through. And that's also the color of what it looks like before the oil goes on there. So if you want to see the quick little reward that everybody loves, is that first coat of oil. And I am using water locks, which I buy in bulk and then transfer into quarts, little cheap $2 each quart containers, because it's a lot cheaper that way. And I use Bloxygen to prevent this stuff from gelling over, because it doesn't last long in the can. Anyway, this is what it looks like when it goes on. Very satisfying. And that color is going to even out. This is just because it's soaked in a little more deeply in these areas, but I'd say probably about 5 or 10 minutes that's going to even out and look just like the other side. And then on the other ones, the same deal. This is an edge grain board, but it has a lot of end grain on it, just on the sides of the handle and whatnot. And that's just a little cheese board. This is made out of hickory, and it's surprisingly absorbent. That was actually green about 3 months ago also. And then a couple bowls. This one's made out of poplar. Some old barnwood chestnut, that's absorbing a lot. And that's just a little variety there. Purple heart and ash, that's a little more dense, doesn't soak up as much. But on a cutting board, yeah, you can plan on using pretty much, I would say, at least a half a quart to finish this thing up. But if you want it to last forever, that's the way to go.